Good afternoon. Welcome, everybody. My name is Chris Carter. I am on the advisory board for the Seattle Interactive Conference, and we hope you're having a good time so far. I'd like to introduce Jennifer Klawin, who is the Director of West Coast Sales for Tumblr. Don't be put off by the title. She won't be selling to us this afternoon. But yeah, she is going to be talking about how brands are making use of Tumblr. So with that, please join me in welcoming Jennifer to the stage.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jennifer Klawin, the Director of West Coast Sales for Tumblr. So happy to be here, and thank you to the Seattle Interactive community for inviting us. I'm joined by my team, Matt Halliday, who's a brand strategist in San Francisco, and Megan Yednock, who is our brand associate, also based in Los Angeles. So we'll be sticking around after if anyone wants to chat. So quick show of hands. How many people in the room have a Tumblr, either personally or for one of the brands they represent? Awesome. That's really great, as expected, but you never know. So this is my personal Tumblr. It's called justanothermanicmonday.tumblr.com, a little play on my love of the 80s. And I'd say today was a little bit manic with our 7:30 flight up from Los Angeles. I curate content here that I'm passionate about, whether it's fashion, food, or travel. And occasionally I'll post a picture of one of my cute kids, in this case my daughter at the fair eating cotton candy. So today we're going to talk a little bit about what stories are being told on Tumblr, whether you're an individual creator or a global brand. Tumblr is a platform where content drives storytelling. We'll dive into how the platform works. We'll talk a little bit about how on Tumblr content is a new language, and share a little bit about our native advertising platform. And we'll stick around for Q&A, and certainly feel free to raise your hand and ask a question throughout the discussion. Really want to keep an open dialogue. So what stories are being told on Tumblr? Tumblr gives anyone a voice to share their story. This is Dadaab. It's a refugee camp in Kenya near the border of Somalia. Over 500,000 people live here. This Tumblr, Dadaab Stories, gives the refugees a voice. It's an interactive multimedia experience, and as you can see, a great use of the platform. You would never think that this is a blog based on just the look. They really worked closely with our team to maximize the platform, but what's really interesting about it is the stories that it tells. Mostly video, interviews with refugees, and the goal really is to raise awareness of Dadaab, share their stories with the world, and offer aid. Dear Photograph is one of my absolute favorite blogs. I don't know if anybody has seen this, but the idea is you take an old photo, bring it to a location, take another photo in the present, and this sort of juxtaposition of old meets new is extremely, extremely powerful. People love it. In fact, it's been turned into a coffee table book, which you can buy on Amazon or Walmart.com, etc. But check it out. This is Beyonce's Tumblr. This is actually her official website. If you go to Google and you search Beyonce, this is what you'll see. She chose Tumblr as her sort of social platform of choice, primarily because of the creative that she can display here. There's no restrictions in how she communicates. She has multimedia that she posts up. And she uses Twitter occasionally, maybe 4 times. She uses Facebook as well, but that's mostly a fan community. Tumblr is essentially her official website, im.beyonce.com, because of the flexibility that it offers her. And the president is on Tumblr. About 6 months ago, we were really excited to see the White House launch a Tumblr campaign, knowing that the millennial and younger audience is really important as future voters. They launched this Tumblr, and they communicate in very fun, lightweight, animated posts, such as this one with Barack dusting off his shoulder before the correspondence dinner. Or this one with Barack sporting Michelle's famous bangs. They show their family dog, and it's really, really fun. And again, it connects them with the millennial audience, which is a really important segment for them. And brands are also using Tumblr to share their stories. This is an example from Gap. They had a campaign this summer called Back to Blue. And on their Tumblr, they invited the community to submit art that reflects what does blue mean to you. They received hundreds of submissions from around the world, and then they featured them in their advertising campaign, which was pretty novel, to be honest. So during one day in August, Gap ran the 4 winning submissions in a mobile campaign across the world, and it really meant a lot to the community to see them sort of giving back in that way. And you can go to their blog, it's just gap.tumblr.com, and you can see all the different submissions that they received during August. Another example is Rebecca Minkoff partnered with Nordstrom during the Fashion Week in the fall. She really wanted to highlight and bring awareness to her spring collection. So they also partnered with Tumblr, and they invited the community models, artists, and photographers to submit new designs for t-shirts, tote bags, etc. And the winning designs were not only featured on the runway, on their Tumblr blog, but also available in Nordstrom that day. And just side note, sort of interesting, David Karp, our CEO, was also on the committee to decide the winning t-shirt, which was, not sure how they pulled that off, but they did. And speaking of Nordstrom, they have done an amazing job sort of bridging the gap between a high fashion mood board with e-commerce. So if you click on any of these images on their site that are actually products that they offer, they deep link to their site where you can buy. It was a really neat way of, again, creating this aspirational destination, yet closing the loop and allow consumers to directly buy. And stories told in the first person. Oftentimes we'll see brands share stories directly from a character or the brand themselves. We've seen Old Spice do this really well. The Hunger Games created a beautiful Tumblr called Capital Couture. This is an example from Warner Brothers for the Hangover 3 movie. And they had an official blog for the movie. In addition, they created Alan's Facebook.tumblr.com, because they figured Alan is too stupid to know the difference between Facebook and Tumblr, so he combined the two. And they actually commissioned Zach Galifianakis, the actor, to post the first few posts from his point of view to make it more authentic. But it's Alan's Facebook.tumblr.com, and check it out if you want a good laugh. So a little bit about how Tumblr works. We often say we're home to the most passionate and creative people in the world. So if you think about it, we're a blogging platform that provides tools to consumers and brands alike to create a fully customized web-facing experience like you saw earlier, but the added benefit of social. With the 225 million global users that we have on our site every month, searching for content, over 80 million posts a day, there's something for everyone. So again, on the left, you have the open web, which is your destination, that web-facing destination, sort of like all the examples that we showed. But you combine that with the power of the community, and you have something truly, truly unique that differentiates Tumblr from other blogging platforms as well as social networks. And here's a great example from Electrolux. They created a Tumblr called Now You're Cooking that really aligns with who they are. I cook, therefore I am, really speaks to their customer. But rather than creating a destination that is just all about their products, they created this deep editorial experience that gives hands-on tips and recipes to consumers. So if you feel like truffle french fries, which sounds pretty good, you can go there and literally follow step by step, pause the video during the middle of it, and people discover this organically. And if you notice, these are some of their other networks that they're on, and they're not as customized or not as unique. So again, they really maximize the platform to show what the brand represents. So when David Karp, our 27-year-old CEO, founded Tumblr, he did it primarily for himself. He was looking for a way to self-express on the internet that wasn't limited by 140 characters or video only. He was looking for unlimited expression, multimedia, and couldn't find it. So he created Tumblr. Today we have 7 different post types. So as a user, once you create your blog, you can post photos, videos, embed audio tracks from Spotify and SoundCloud, even quotes. Again, making it really, really easy for consumers to self-express and get a name for themselves on the internet. And here's a little bit of how it flows. So once you create your destination, as you can see Denny's Diner on the left, once they post something to their blog, it gets distributed across screens, the desktop experience as well as the mobile experience, so allowing people to interact with it really, really easily. And this is our dashboard. This is sort of the magic of Tumblr. This is where users spend 80% of their time literally searching through their dashboard, infinitely scrolling, looking at content of the blogs that they follow, as well as searching for content. Again, people come to Tumblr to discover their passions, and they do so primarily through search. And when they're searching here, their dashboard sort of changes, and new content will flow in. We'll talk a little bit about organic discovery and the importance of tagging in search in a bit, but just wanted to show that. And that's primarily why our users are spending about 20 minutes per session on Tumblr, sort of equivalent to a sitcom without commercials. And the behavior is a little bit different. It's not the at-work crowd. It's the after-school, after-work, me time, where I'm going to sit back and just scroll through and look for content that I want to put on my own blog. And just a quick I don't know if anybody noticed, but toward the end of last week, we relaunched a new visual search product. So now if you search for something like landscape photography, for example, you have this beautiful destination that allows consumers to select through visuals as opposed through text, for example, or through copy, and allows you about 10 times more content to sift through. So engagement on Tumblr is primarily around 3 metrics. The first is the follow. Again, you can build a community on Tumblr. But more often than not, people are going to find a piece of content that you created, organically or through other means that you're promoting it. And they're going to red heart it, or like it, or love, like we say, to quickly and a lightweight sort of validation of that piece of content. In addition, sort of the sweet spot of Tumblr is the reblog. And when someone takes your piece of content and reblogs it, they're essentially pushing it out to all of their followers and putting it on their blog, their website permanently. It's a really, really valuable engagement action. And a lot of the brands that we work with really measure the success of a piece of content based on the amplification that it gets through the reblog. And today, we find about 90% of the content on Tumblr is actually reblogs. So we've seen this shift from the creator to the curator. And more people are coming on the site, and only about 10% of the content is original. So as a brand or marketer, the opportunity to sort of fuel that behavior by getting your content out there and tagging it around these passion points so people can discover it is a huge opportunity that we see. So the new creative canvas. So what's the big deal about content? Everyone's talking about content now. But on Tumblr, we actually measure conversation through content. And we've partnered with several research companies from Union Metrics, Simply Measured, and now DataSift, who have built tools, research tools on top of Tumblr data to allow brands to understand and quantify communities and look deeper into the conversations that are happening. Because our users speak to each other through content. So I don't have to say much if you received a reaction GIF or via email or social to kind of understand the excitement behind these images. This is what the younger generation does. They send this to one another. I'm sure you guys do as well. It's the era of emojis and reaction GIFs. So we see a lot of this on Tumblr. And we like to think of it as the new language. So again, people come to Tumblr to explore their passions, to share content and discover content. As I mentioned, we partner with several third parties to dive deeper into what the conversations are, quantify the volume of conversations. And here's just a few snapshots of some of the bigger communities on Tumblr: fashion, design, art. And these are, of course, all visuals pulled from Tumblr. Travel, technology, for example. So lastly, we're going to talk about our native advertising platform. All of these images are actually brands that have advertised on Tumblr's native advertising platform and seen great success. You can see some brands you may recognize, like Coca-Cola and maybe Lexus, but the others are probably a little harder to tell. It's interesting because we find some of the most successful brands on Tumblr are a lot more subtle. That's because the users are looking for content that they want to put on their own blog. So you have to be a little bit more thoughtful about what you put up there. In fact, we often turn things down because it looks too much like a banner. It's happened before. So real quick, in order to advertise on the platform, you first and foremost have to have a blog. And from that blog, we pull a specific post. And that post gets amplified across our platform on our desktop radar, the web in-stream, and mobile in-stream. So the desktop radar has always been there. It's been there for 6 years. It's highly curated by our editorial team, and users know to go there to look for content that's recommended. Not necessarily for them. Every day there's about 20 to 30 different pieces of content that are highlighted, sort of the best of the best. So what we allow brands to do now is pick a specific day and a specific piece of content, and we'll run it there for 24 hours to get some amplification to drive engagement around that content. A few months ago, we launched a new product called the Web In-Stream. This is the largest ad unit that we have. Again, it's a specific post, but you can be really, really creative. It doesn't look like an ad, but it is. This is called a photo mosaic, and it's a really fun use of the platform, and you have a huge canvas to work with. It's big. Mobile is an important platform for us and increasingly growing. In May, we launched our mobile in-stream product. So again, to extend beyond the desktop, allow brands to reach consumers on the go. And unlike the desktop radar, you get a little bit more real estate and context to the post. It's a beautiful one from Dior. And again, we're seeing huge growth, 3 times as much as desktop. And about 52% of our audience is accessing Tumblr via mobile today. And we're continuing to see that grow month over month. And then lastly is our Spotlight. This is where users go to discover new content. Just tumblr.com/spotlight. Part of the onboarding experience for any new user is to go through Spotlight and discover 5 blogs to follow before they complete that onboarding process. It's a great place for a brand to be for contextual relevancy, but also for users just to find new content to follow. We have about 50 different categories that you can choose from, and again, highly curated by our editorial team. We typically don't feature brands here editorially, unless it's cause-related or, again, not overly commercial. But as part of advertising, you get to be featured within these placements. And I promised I wasn't going to sell, and that's about it, I think. So just wanted to show a quick example of a brand that worked with us to identify, that leveraged some strategic insights and identified trends and capitalized on that trend for their strategy. So this is Lincoln Motor Company. So in working with Lincoln and learning a little bit about what they were hoping to do, we also learned that on Tumblr, one of the top tags often associated with car was vintage. And that was really interesting to them because they were going through this relaunch of their brand campaign, and they were going to do a look back at Lincoln Motor Company. So the stars were aligning, and it made a lot of sense for them to capitalize on that and show vintage cars because, again, other than luxury, that's what people were looking for. So as you can see from these visuals, all the imagery that they put up was Lincoln Motor Company over the last several decades, a look back, historic look at the brand, which allowed them to sort of evolve and slip in kind of where they're going with the brand as well. And they partnered with a Tumblr famous photographer, Jamie Beck, who created this beautiful cinematograph for them. And if you notice, the hippie chick sitting on the car, her hair is slightly blowing in the breeze. She's picking the petals off the flower, and the caption just simply says, "He loves me not." And people loved it. It was beautiful, collectible, and they also were really smart about the tagging. They tagged it GIF, which is a popular search term, often #1, vintage, and fashion. And on Tumblr, tagging is a little bit different than hashtag on Twitter, where you use a hashtag to express for an expression or to punctuate a thought. On Tumblr, it's a little more practical. People use hashtags to aid in discovery and organize content. Again, it's a lot more practical. So in doing so, coupled with amplifying that post, or is that a word? Promoting that post through our paid ad product, they got tens of thousands of engagements around that piece of content. Another best practice that they followed was creating content that's evergreen. Something about Tumblr that's also very different is the longevity of content. Oftentimes you'll find a piece of content from a year ago. It's fall, I'm searching for fall inspiration, and something from last year pops up, and I love it, and I reblog it, and thus that earned media, that amplification starts all over again. So they did a really, really great job with that. And that's it. I breezed through those. Happy to take any questions that anyone has. Or there's a hashtag SIC Canvas if you guys want to tweet those in. And Megan, I don't know if you're watching those.
Are you familiar with Ryan Carson's Tumblr by any chance from Team Treehouse?
I'm not.
Okay. Basically, he used it to promote his brand through telling the story of Team Treehouse. Do you have a recommended strategy for building sites like his to tell the story of your product and to pull people in? It's got a lot of how-tos and like good pointer kind of things.
I mean, we would love to take a look at it and sit down with you and help you figure out the best way to do it. What type of content is it primarily? Is it video, the how-tos, or learning videos? So, and is the target audience? Okay. I think we could have a lot of fun with that, actually. So if you stick around, I'll give you my card and we can help you chat. One of the things I would say more broadly is with video in general, and we would tell the movie studios this, or anybody who has long form or video content, what works really well, at least on our platform, are sort of more bite-sized chunks. So create a series of GIFs from the video to sort of tease it and bring people in. And there's ways that you can, with the Tumblr platform, have those videos all there, but not necessarily on the landing page. And Dadab does that really well, as does the Electrolux one, where the top half of the blog is a little bit more lightweight content, and then you can build pages within the blog, within the site, to have some deeper, richer content pieces. If that makes sense. Thanks for the question. Any others?
Yeah, I had a question. So I work for an agency, and building out Tumblr sites or pages is something that comes into the strategy. What sort of engagement numbers do you have for people that are viewing content within the dashboard versus going to an actual branded page, and kind of where we can maybe take some numbers out of that and run with it?
Yep, great question. So we find about 80% of the time spent is actually spent in the dashboard, and that includes looking at the content that you follow as well as searching. So if we did the straight math, what we generally say a rule of thumb is maybe 10 to 15% of the time would be on the destinations of the blog. So it's really important to think about not only how that content looks on the destination, on your Tumblr blog, but what it looks like in the dashboard. So bright colors, again, it depends on the brand. Even like black and white photography really stands out well with a little bit of color. It varies depending on who you're going after, but it's just a general rule of thumb is to create content for the dashboard.
I have a quick question. My teenagers are addicted to you guys, by the way.
Yep.
And my oldest son, he's always telling me, Mom, you need to get on Tumblr. Mom, you need to get on Tumblr. But I design early childhood curriculum. What is Tumblr going to do for me?
So that's really interesting because we generally hear, yes, we're huge with teens and millennials, primarily because their moms aren't there. So I kudos to you for that great relationship that he wants you there. How old is he? 17. Wow, that's great. I hope my kids ask me that someday. So we do have a parenting section within our spotlight. You'll be surprised. There's a lot of mommy, daddy bloggers within there to get, again, potentially featured. We'd love to sit down with brands individually to kind of dive a little bit deeper into the content that you have available and to help build out a strategy. But again, one thing I would do purely for organic discovery is go to tumblr.com/explore, and that's where we have all the top trending tags, and we have what we call featured tags. And featured tags are ones that are managed by the community, and we highlight content more often. We're also highlighting content organically in a new place called trending. So we have trending blogs and trending tags. This is literally just went live. It just went live, and it's been live in the mobile experience, but just went live recently on the desktop experience as well. There is also this sort of quirky community that has evolved, self-identified, called Mumblers. And it's moms plus Tumblr. They created Mumblers. And to communicate with each other, they tag everything Mumbler. So just search for Mumbler. Again, if that's the audience that you're going after, not as much.
More daycare centers, preschools.
Still, I would still say the Mumblers might be a good, whether it's focus group or potential community for you to immerse yourself in, because I get the sense that they have young children. There's another random one called Fitblr. It's fitness in Tumblr. So again, these communities sort of create themselves. And there's a lot of people sharing training tips, a lot of abs, and things like that. But it's kind of interesting to see how people create communities around passion points or common ground, much different than other networks where it's more about, your authentic identity and your real friends. Great question. Thanks.
I'm curious, what's the nonprofit presence like on Tumblr? How are nonprofits using it to, rather than get attention for a brand, get attention for an idea or a movement?
I love that. A lot of different ways, and you saw Dadab, and we worked really closely with them. We have a marketing person who runs all of our causes and nonprofits. Her name's Liba. She's based in LA, and can definitely put you in touch. Anything we can do to help nonprofits, from building a strategy to featuring you within our causes and nonprofits editorial area. We'll often even donate media, again, to help support good causes. It's really, really near and dear, and we're happy to help. We feel like Tumblr is a great platform for that, so we can help. Yeah. Thanks, Matt. Anything else? Absolutely. You know, we were acquired by Yahoo in June. With that, we have more resources to build out a more robust ad offering. To your point, it's, you know, to buy one of our ads today, there's no targeting opportunities, so no demo. I mean, you can buy the whole US and that's it. So we're really excited about what's to come with the Yahoo acquisition. And you know, you can expect in 2014 more targeting, ability to integrate your brand in the most relevant ways. As far as a self-serve product for small businesses, personally, I would love to see that. I don't know the timeline on that, but I would be surprised if that isn't something that happens eventually.
So I'm with Simply Measured. We're happy to be a partner of you guys. We did a study recently and found that, for the rest of the room probably, 30% of reblogs happen after 30 days. So on Tumblr, things just stay. The longevity and the shelf life is a lot longer. Do you have any idea why that is? Because we have some hypotheses, but we're not quite sure.
Yes, we love that stat. And I think it really does lend itself to the behavior on Tumblr, how content is, we recommend that you create more evergreen content that is quotable, actionable, and evergreen so that you can benefit from that. I think because people are so focused when they come to Tumblr and they're searching for something very specific, they will go back. In fact, the average page depth per visit is like 67 pages. It's unheard of. So people will dig and dig and dig till they find that perfect post, because when you find it, you reblog it to your own site and you're like, I found the perfect, whether it's a reaction GIF or that perfect piece of content that I'm looking for. And we see that 60% of reblogs come from non-followers too. So more likely than not, people are gonna find a piece of content that speaks to them, not necessarily follow the brand, but they'll share that piece of content. Anything else? Yes.
I was just wondering, and I should probably explore more and find out myself, but do you know if there's any destinations that are using Tumblr as an extension of their brand? Like, for instance, I work for Travel Oregon, the state tourism leg. So I was just curious if there were any other states or local DMOs, destination marketing organizations that might be using Tumblr?
Yes. We have a huge travel community on Tumblr. Because we're such a visual platform, what we recommend for tourism boards or travel brands to really capitalize on the visual side of things. If I showed you that landscape photography search result page, again, people are looking for inspiration. So it's a little bit different than if I go to a travel guide per se and I'm looking for, day trips. I'm just looking for inspiration. I created one for my trip to Ireland this summer called Guinness and Gold, and I just dug and I found so many things to do in Ireland on Tumblr just from visuals, pure visual. So keep that in mind. We have a ton of tourism boards and hotels and you name it using Tumblr. If you go to our spotlight category under travel, you'll see a lot of what's featured there. And then we can also help you with sort of the top tags, search words within Tumblr, within the travel category, to help you with your organic discovery, if that would be helpful. Sure. Anything else?
You mentioned there were like 7 content types that you created a blog post with. Which content type has created the most engagement in posts?
Good question. So there are 7 post types, but by far the photo, and that includes animated GIFs or photo sets, which are sort of the compilation, like a photo album, are 80% of the reblogs. So, heavyweight content is great, long form, you can do it, but the things that sort of get the most traction are those lighter weight, photos, either still, black and white or color, or the animated GIFs are, we've seen a resurgence of those. Anyone from the mid-90s remembers the GIF, and now it's back. It's vintage. It's very popular again. So keep that in mind. And there's little nuances, like the cinematograph that Lincoln used is so beautiful. And again, you know, the tools today that allow you to create those, you can create a GIF in minutes, so it's really easy to do. But that's the most popular post type. Okay, thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.